What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie, where we believe an experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and with me now is world-renowned psychic, Eddie Connor.
Thank you so much, Tony, and welcome back, everybody, to our Angelic Healer Circle. Our next guest is a talented intuitive. His name is Mark Mezadourian. Mark is a Los Angeles-based intuitive specializing in connecting with angels and guides. He has created the 9-week Daily Om online course titled Angelic Infusions, Live the Truth of Who You Are and Attract Your Divine Partner.
Accessing spirituality with heart-centered practicality is the goal of Mark's work. Plus, Mark offers private intuitive readings, workshops, weekly calls, and classes. Every aspect of his work is designed to make our world a bigger,
better,
and brighter.
That's what I'm talking about. You can learn more at markmezadourian.com. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome intuitive Mark Mezadourian. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Tony Sweet.
And with us we have Mark Mezadourian, who is an intuitive who specializes in attuning to spirit guides. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and angels.
And
yes.
angels.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between angels and guides? We're going to jump right in, y'all.
Let's dive.
This is going to be the way. So pull the mic a little closer because we're going to rock and roll this thing out. We're going to give you two hours and 50 minutes.
2 hours and 50 minutes.
So what's the difference between a spirit guide and an angel, in your opinion?
That it's really vibrational and energetic. So if we think of angels being, the word angel means messenger of God. So just looking at just that actual role and also not being human. And spirit guides being more people like, let's say, Jesus, Buddha, Kuan Yin, and such people who were on the planet who had that experience. So there's a different vibration and different quality. But I think the main thing that's important is anyone you have an affinity for or want to connect with, they're available to you.
And by that, you're talking about the master teachers all the way down to your grandma Moselle, who passed away in 1963.
You got it.
Okay. You went
David Bowie.
Oh, listen. That's one of the things I'm fascinated by, because when Michael Jackson passed away, CNN came to me and Jack and Glennis and were asking us questions about why. It wasn't to tune into Michael, it was to understand why the world was grieving in such a way that nobody had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And it's Michael Jackson. And the intention, the purest part of his intention behind the music was transforming. And a great example of that is when he was working with the best producers on planet Earth.
Quincy Jones.
Yes. And then somebody said, "Oh, don't you want this to be played in other countries?" And he went, No, I want it to be played on every planet throughout the universe. And you could just see everybody's brain go, but we do. That's why I think the music, and it brought everybody back to a high frequency, rich, in-depth place. So I love that you brought David Bowie into it, and that we do, all of us, even Tony, can connect. Teasing you.
Even me?
Yeah, can tune to David Bowie.
I never liked David Bowie. I'm just kidding. I was just that look. I was waiting.
I like David Bowie.
I love David Bowie.
Yeah.
So let's talk for a moment why there's such a grief for him, which is he felt like a friend.
Yeah.
Because he spoke directly to the part of us that feels like a misfit and an outsider, and having this very human experience and articulating that so well. And so the loss is profound, but he came through. I do mediumship work. I do it in a different way than other folks. I work with Archangel Michael with that. And my interest is, who do you want to talk to? So there's a lady who was devastated by his death who came to one of the workshops. So we talked to him, and he came forward with Lou Reed
Wow.
from the Velvet Underground. And it was interesting because he was talking about that we are used to the rhythm of Lou, like the kind of rat-tat-tat, like da-da-da-da-da-da, and we're heading toward the Bowie soar, the Bowie, high arc aria. And so there's a difference in vibration. And he just came forward with this beautiful thing of wrapping his words around her like a blanket,
Yeah.
as comfort. And this profound sense of his ascension being like a choice to help more from the other side, basically. Similar to Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
All these folks who are dying seemingly all at once. I know there's a disease involved in this and that, but just recognizing their role as guides. And so for bypassing this idea of like, oh, they've only been dead for a few months, we can't access them. Like, no, they're these vibrant beings who are right here. And if we have an affinity for them, let's talk to them.
Yeah.
Let's make the world simple.
So tell us a little bit about who you were before you became this.
I was a very heavy, depressed guy. And in 1998, I worked in theater most of my life and such. And my family's always been intuitive, but it was random and had no logic to it, no technique to it. So in 1998, I had an anxiety attack, which just got my attention. The main message I got from it was, what I'm doing isn't working. Let's make the world bigger. Let's discover like what else is there.
Right.
And so just looking at things with a fresh point of view, I worked with a therapist who did EMDR, the eye movement technique.
Oh, yeah.
which
I have
is-
some
which is-
friends doing that.
It's fantastic.
That's what they
It's-
say.
Well, what it is, it engages your conscious mind, so your unconscious come forward. It's just nasty what's in the unconscious
Oh,
mind. It's
child.
like, oh my God. And things that you wouldn't think. And people you wouldn't think were all over my psyche. So just doing that gave me a lens into like there's much more happening. And that therapist was a spiritual guy, introduced me to Saint Germain and such, just started to meditate more and this and that. And my sister was working with Doreen Virtue at the time, who is an expert in angels. And so I started to read the books and go to Doreen's workshops and such, and I started to have conversations with angels through numbers.
Wow.
I'd wake up every morning at 4:44 and get lots of things from license plates and such. So there's this kind of constant presence around and the sense of like, hey, we're here.
So you're working in theater, and then
Yeah.
you have an anxiety attack, and then you see the therapist, and now you do this for a living.
I do, yeah.
For how many years?
14.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was an evolution. And but the main thing I discovered was that things can change. And that sounds like a simple statement, but the idea that we're stuck or that we're stuck with ourselves, we're stuck with a mindset, the idea of fate. And like, no, we could radically change things. And the ability to help people. What I discovered in connecting with the angels was that I could read for other people really easily. It's hard to read for ourselves. That's like across the board.
And it's I meant to say this to Keith earlier, and we didn't know that you were friends with Keith
Yeah.
Horowitz, and that was a pleasant surprise too, because like attracts like, birds of a feather, and all the
Yes.
fun stuff. I was going to say to him, and I'll just say it to you, isn't it funny how easy it is to read for other people and
Yeah.
just remove your stuff out of the way and drop into that unconditional heart chakra energy and just do this. And then whenever they walk out of the room and you disconnect and you say your little closing prayer, and then you're like, you bump your toe against the kitchen cabinet, you're like, you're so stupid. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. We're really pretty mean to ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're kind of mean to the angels too in some ways.
Yeah.
How we
What you
just-
talking about? Who you been talking to up there, Mark?
Exactly. No, just in terms of, so we have a context to talk about this right now. We could talk
Yeah.
openly about that. Anyone listening has a context for it. But why we have to get in this kind of social thing of like,
I know,
You know?
surfacey.
exactly. And so just getting past that into like, what is actually happening? That's interesting.
Give us a background, not a background, a quick story about where you're like, it could be as simple as you're asleep, you're just sleeping in the middle of the night, and then somebody's like, hey, wake up, don't go to school today or something. What's something that was a huge message from non-physical for you that just changed the entire trajectory of your day, your week, or your life?
That was part of the anxiety attack. Was my grandmother, Sarah, had died in 1997, the year before. And she was a source of unconditional love in my life. So when she passed, I was working for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in Ashland, Oregon, and was busy the whole time and didn't really process her death until the following November when I stopped working and I went to Europe and she started to visit me. And so it wasn't necessarily one thing, but the fact that she was like, she put her hand on my leg,
Yep.
and I just knew that she was okay. And just that of like, okay, so there's all these different relationships that are here, and just the world is really big, and all of it is designed around comfort. All of it is designed to connect. That none of it is around like life is a big mystery. It's actually the opposite, where just things are really practical and simple. Like, let's focus on love.
Yeah.
And so this message of like, so for me, it was like, how about you love yourself? How about you take care of yourself?
So was there any other people that died before Grandma Sarah?
No, I mean, not, there were people who died, but not on that level.
Okay.
She was the first major, figure in my life to die.
Yeah. I find that whenever someone that's a major figure, when they pass away, it rips the scab off of all of the people that passed before them that you didn't know, you didn't process.
Yes.
And then she's the catalyst, her transition's the catalyst to wake up in all of these areas and years that we didn't.
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And getting into ancestry of like really, and I think that takes a while or a conscious choice to get into that in terms of what is the impact of our ancestry. I do a whole workshop on, I'm half Armenian, and so the genocide, my grandmother had 3 brothers who were shot in one day. And just thinking like, oh, that happened to someone else. Like, nope, that is all over my psyche. That is completely in my DNA, and it requires clearing. So I have a workshop called Lifting the Pain of the Past, which is about releasing genocide, war, slavery, internment, dislocation.
So you're saying ancestry could be centuries, millenniums.
Whenever. So if everyone on your mom's side, or dad's side of the family, going back to the first man and woman. So in the violence of human history.
Yes.
Which is anyone who's
that's a lot.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and when we consciously pay attention to that, just thinking even just the 20th century or even the 19th century, slavery, huge, these monumental events of being, ripped from your country, losing your identity, and being forced, being just
treated worse than an animal.
Treated worse than an animal, and that's happened repeatedly in human history. It's not just
it wasn't
in
new.
America. It wasn't new.
Yeah.
No, but so just get into a context of, well, how do we clear that?
And how do we clear that?
We pay attention to it. We acknowledge it. First and foremost, that happened. We honor it. And then we work with angels to release any negative effects, any limiting effects that has come about from those events. So I think we don't really talk about in our culture how things actually change. And spiritually, it is acknowledgement. This is what's happening. This is what's up. And then we get into a space, okay, what would I like to have happen? And I think where angels can really help us in terms of letting them move energy for us.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of willingness and partnership that we have with them in terms of what can actually happen.
And what is this thing that some people have it subconsciously, some people have it consciously, where they choose to hold on to things because they get a big old payoff from it, or they think they do. And they'll get this much of a payoff, but they're carrying, 37 camels on their back.
Well, because we praise that.
Yeah. That's
we
right.
Praise, well, I think it's always interesting in terms of, especially when folks pass, like, he didn't change in 70 years. Like, my God, is that good?
No.
And so I think in very practical terms, like how we change as people, we are an embryo, like our whole life is about change, and we're good at it.
Yeah, we are.
And so it's a matter of like, well, what can change? And getting into a space, I know you and Keith were talking about astrology a bit, of like, the thing, astrology is fantastic. I don't like the part of it's like, this is fate, this is the way it's going to go.
Oh, I don't believe in that.
And it's like I could throw this water at Tony,
Yeah.
I could. I won't.
You're supposed to have a charmed life.
Don't
Catch
make
this
my
with your head.
Yeah, good luck, sucker. Anyway, but just getting a space of like, we have free will.
Yeah.
And just the power of that. And I think what's interesting now on the planet is the fact that people are freaked out.
They are
I think
freaked.
it's so interesting in terms of this era of choice that we are, what these guys talk about is that the planet's already shifted into a space of peace. We're getting used to it, and hence the fanaticism, the kind of like, I'm not going to change. The sense of like hanging on to, what we already know, as opposed to like, okay, what is actually being asked of us right now? What's being asked of us, let's really use our power. Let's focus on what we want to have happen as opposed to reacting to what is happening, and to change it. And that's fun.
Great.
That's interesting.
Something that I find interesting that Eddie said used to tell me all the time is when you talk to universe, because this is going back to what you're talking about of changing DNA
Yes.
and negative.
Yeah.
How many times that you grow up and go, I do not want to be like my mother. I do not want to be like my father. But Eddie always says, don't say I don't want to be, because the universe only hears.
Yes.
Yes.
It's what if you're
They don't
saying
hear
no,
the
I don't
negative.
want money, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be hurt, I don't want to be sad, I don't want to
Right.
be living in my car like Jewel. But
Right.
it was a van, and she's doing pretty damn good, just by the way.
So
bless her.
The universe says yes, yes, yes to living in the van, yes to heartbreak,
Right.
yes to
So how do we break that mold, and how do we say this to the universe or to our angels without a negative kind of a blanket over it?
Only love surrounds me. Thank you, angels, for clearing and shielding my energy for my highest possible good. And just really focusing on what we want to have happen. I think that is the central question. What do we want to have happen?
Not don't want to happen.
Yes, exactly
Right.
what we want. And it's interesting in terms of that question. It can alarm people, but if you ask someone that question, they can only tell the truth.
And it's the question again is no, only love surrounds me. What
No,
was it?
the question is, what do you want to have happen?
Oh Lord.
As a because we're very, very used to our culture. We have an adolescent culture in America. We're used to like reacting, like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like, how can they do that? Donald Trump said this. I
And-
understand that, but
and
it's
we're
this reaction.
Yes, and we're trained beautifully by the media that brainwashes everyday autopilot thinking, monkey-minded, mass-mind people.
Not thinking.
They really are.
Nice sound effect.
And it's been going around since the beginning of humanity.
Yes.
Anybody who wanted to manipulate and drive, usually through segregation in some way, shape, or form, they're the bad guys. Protect yourself from them. They're not Christian.
them. Us
yeah,
and them.
it's always that, and never
Yeah,
us.
and us is the key. So there's many things in what you just said of getting to this space of what is it like to focus on what we would want to have happen.
When you ask people that question, when I do workshops too, when you ask them, what is it that you would like in love? I don't want to get my heart broke. What is it that you do want?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want an asshole. What is it you do want?
We are not used to that question.
And we're not used to talking about the things that are deep,
Yes.
that we strongly desire. And isn't it funny? We also we vilify people who have sort of a relaxed life and things land in their lap naturally, or according to mass mind. And then we cheer the people who struggle, and then get a piece of soap 20 years later and struggle. Isn't it fascinating how it's reversed? But what we want is, what most people want is the charmed life.
Yes.
But we can't let too many people see us having a charmed experience because it will ruffle their feathers.
No, but this is coming back to one of the first things we talked about, like Bowie and let's say Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
which is they seem like charmed people. And the fact that they died is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Robin Williams,
Yeah.
and there's suffering there. So there's lots of things here, but we're used to this reaction. We have a reactive culture. And so within the reaction, it gets into the belief of who's in charge. And we're taught it's not us.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting space to work on. Like, so if we recognize we're in charge, we're running the show, we get to choose.
So we're taught it's not us. Therefore, there's some other force
Be it
outside of
fate,
us.
Be it fate, be it someone who knows better than you.
Yeah.
In religion, it's a middle man.
Or economy
man.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that we're kind of shocking, like clock and time here, why something else is happening. And this space of like, well, what do we want to have happen? Who are we? Who are we actually? How come there are angels around and we could talk to them and have them help us out and give us context and make the world bigger? I think the whole point of spirituality is to make the world bigger, so we see have more options.
How far into it did you get from jumping the ship of what you were doing prior to this spiritual work that you do? How far into the spiritual work, how many years were you in it before your autopilot thought was, I want a relationship that's uplifting. I want one that's nurturing. I want one that feels good. I want one that's relaxing. I want one that's laid back. I want one that's an even exchange of energy. How far did you get in it? How many years before that was your script and it was your go-to script as opposed to, I don't know, I want somebody to find a G spot?
I don't know. This has all felt like one continuous thing.
Yeah.
And it's just been this evolution of like releasing the onion skin. So there's been many aha moments, but it's a matter of like this ongoing of like, let's just keep going. And to see, there's been monumental things. The thing that's coming to mind, honestly, I manifested a marriage, and that marriage didn't work. And so two things with that of like the actual manifesting, and I met her when she walked into my home. Was doing an event in my home. She walked in, and all this synchronicity around that. This was in 2007. And then for that not to work was just the greatest spiritual lesson of my life so far, which was like, oh, well, like we actually changed. So like manifesting something really beautiful, then having it not work and having a peaceful release of that. Then like, okay, well, what do you do now?
And what did you do?
Dug deeper. I kind of blew things up. I moved from here to New York for a bit, for like a year and a half. And
talk about change.
Yeah, exactly. New York is fun, but it's really, really, really tiring. I discovered recently, I live 3.5 blocks away from Bowie.
That's crazy.
I
I don't know
know.
why, but the image I see when you say that is that area where John Lennon's quote is in the cement or something, or no, I think it's where he was actually shot.
Oh, that's the Dakota. That's a Central Park West. Where Bowie lived was right south of Houston, which is in the right between the West and East Village.
Okay.
So,
I don't know why that's popping in my mind. I love Lennon.
Yeah.
I just love
Well, Strawberry Fields. That's so infusion of energy. That space, and it is kind of messed up. I think that people like the tourists like take pictures of where he was shot,
of course,
as opposed to like
reaction
and focusing on the negative of instead of the Strawberry Fields of the Imagine sign, which is beautiful. There's always people playing music there, and it's always just fantastic.
Wow. And you know, there's an aspect of his consciousness that's still there in a vortex type of way for them to tune into.
We'll talk about a good guide. He's a fantastic guide.
Yeah.
That comes through. But so what got to change in that is in terms of blowing things up, like what do I actually want to have happen? What relationship do I want to be in? Like who am I? Now this thing didn't work. And I have one of the major workshops I do is called Attract Your Divine Partner, which is about how that works, how to actually attract a partner. And it's interesting in terms of getting into like what actually creates our romantic beliefs. And this works for anything. So basically like this,
that's a great question.
What it's like to have our own energy, what's like to actually forgive everyone, to actually do that, not just like talk about it, but to actually forgive everyone, which apparently according to them involves percentages. Because we think like, I'm not forgive them. You can forgive them 1%. That's funny. Just make room for something to happen. And then looking at romantically all the information in our DNA from past lives and our ancestry. So if we think of the role of women,
yep,
it's changed in the last 5 minutes of human history.
Yeah.
That's jarring. But to have no say, basically.
For 2,000 plus years.
Yeah. And then to have a say and to be empowered, that's an interesting shift. But to recognize the arranged marriages, like clearing away all that stuff, not having a choice, being stuck, not being in the room when decisions are made, that kind of thing. And just clearing all of that. And then getting into which aspect of us is running the show romantically, child self, adolescent self, adult self. So the question I have in this workshop is, what are our models for adult romance?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I don't know
Scooby-Doo and
I don't know
Shaggy.
too many.
Eddie,
That would
Tony.
be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So
The
examples.
Obamas, Sting and his wife, Oprah and her partner.
Which one?
Eddie.
It's family TV.
Eddie.
So what if
We
somebody?
won't get on own now.
What if no? This is a script, y'all. What if someone is, let's say, sexually abused as a child from 4 to 12, and I know better now, but that factors into exactly what you just said. And I never had it
100%.
click the way that it just did until you said what you said. Which part of you is coming to that intimate relationship? Is it the child? Is it the adolescent? Or is it the adult? And so the child did what he was told to do, even though it was horribly inappropriate and there was no power in it. And then the Adolescent was the good boy who also did what he was told, worked really hard, kept his mouth shut, and you don't rat anybody out. And the adult transferred all of that over into his corporate America job, worked this hard, made that much money, and was consistently abused in the jobs to the point where I was fired twice for being gay in North Carolina. Thank you very much. And the pattern will keep manifesting until we get in there and break the pattern.
Yes. Yeah.
So I forgot what the question
Well,
was.
I think let's talk about, I think, A, I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
And B, it's the acknowledgement of, so let's just talk angel-wise. Why does that happen? Why would that happen to someone? What's the point of that?
For me, you mean
No,
personally?
Yeah, well, I think I could address this contextually. I'm not trying to put you on the spot with it.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like, well, why would a horrific thing happen in our lives?
Having distance from it now, looking
Mm-hmm.
back, and I was told then by the angels, but I couldn't wrap my brain around it because I was too young, is I chose those experiences before I come in. I had the free will to have the experience or not have it once I got here, but it was sort of a loose blueprint so that I would have a deeper, richer empathy for bad things that happen to other people, so that when I grew up to be a facilitator of well-being for other people, they could feel safe with me because been there, done that.
Yeah,
And I believe that with all my heart.
100%. Yeah, that still doesn't mean it's messed up. But how we heal that and clear that is to acknowledge it and recognize where things got stuck.
Yeah.
And then where, like, letting the angels. So basically, so I'm talking to adult selves here because we're talking about spirituality. And so if we define, like, what is an adult? Adults gather information and then make informed choices based on that information. So as an adult, you have a sense of, okay, so you've accumulated this information. So where is this wounded child? And being clear in the wounded adolescent, and it's just clear of like, I'm going to handle the adult stuff. You go play, child self.
You go chop wood. You don't get to play.
But in this space,
Oh, yeah, in this space.
in
you
an
can
etheric
play.
space,
Yeah.
you could that child's
true.
one and only responsibility is to play.
That's right.
That's it.
Which is the deepest, richest connection back to non-physical, is playing with that energy.
Yes.
Just being.
But just play, and letting the angels take care of that child, and recognizing we're releasing biological parents, and you, the adult, will be that child's parent, and you will take care of them.
Wow, so little Eddie put the axe down.
Little Eddie can go. So if little Eddie was going to play, what does he want to play? Does he want to draw? Does he want to play with animals? Does he want to dance and sing? All the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Every bit of that.
So there's a space here in terms of healing and this is an action step of like, what is it like to wake up in the morning? Because we're used to everything being a mesh together. So we
Right.
kind of don't have a sense of, like, this is where we feel stuck
Yeah.
and kind of messed up. So if we have this sense of every day of like, so you get to be adult Eddie every day. So that might might be helpful for a while. Like, hey, little Eddie, you go play. I'll handle the adult stuff.
Yeah.
I'll take care of work. And adolescent Eddie, he gets to go express himself. He gets to go hang out with David Bowie and do
Michael
his hair
Jackson.
and Michael Jackson and sing and dance.
Yeah.
Is it good to, because you hear people say, oh, grow up. Is it good to let little Eddie,
Have
adolescent.
FaceTime?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I couldn't imagine, because my father, there's a difference between childlike and childish.
Yes.
And my father, and I have it too. I have a childlike about me that, I love to tease, I love to play, I love to kid Eddie. And he does. Well, maybe a little much, but I enjoy it. But tell people out there that need that permission, because there's a lot of people out there that they either take it too far and live their life in that child state and not let the adult come through often enough.
And think that they're attracting people to take care of them and their
Yes.
child simultaneously when really they're not.
And vice versa, of the people that want to constantly live in the adult body and not let their child through. How important is that to live a fulfilled life?
Hugely important. But the first step in that is to have the distinction. What is your adult self? And people feel like, honestly, when I do this work with people, it's like, the adults feels like zero fun.
Right.
It's a different kind of fun. But there is then a space of, so recognizing, so adult, adolescent, child. And let's let the creativity of the adolescent come through. Let's let the creativity of the child come through. But they're not going to, I think a 5-year-old girl can't drive a car or date, right?
Right.
Well, it's
So
the
it's-
South. She can date.
Okay,
Just trying to work with you, Mark.
I know.
I'm teasing.
I know, but that clarity being the first and foremost thing, and then from that space, like, well, what is it like? What is it actually like to let your child self have FaceTime?
Yeah.
When I learned this from the therapist I mentioned, the EMDR therapist. So I would learn to be my adult self, and that was just because I discovered that my adolescent self was running the show, and that just for a 30-year-old that didn't work. So if we think of we don't have these conversations. We think like, oh, I'm an adult. That's nothing to do with age whatsoever.
I'm really curious. In one sentence, describe your adolescent self in your 30s that was running the show.
Delusional,
Yeah.
basically, in terms of having a unevolved view of how things actually work, and that's too critical.
No, but I get it. It didn't
basically
feel
that of,
critical.
it's self-critical in terms of not being present in with what's actually happening, having more of like a dreamy point of view
Pollyanna.
of a little bit, in terms of like how things would work and such. And I mentioned I was very heavy at the time. I still weight on me, but it was very heavy at the time, and I was eating a huge meal at a Taco Bell. And it's got this download, like, you're not going to meet her here. And it's like,
not at Taco Bell,
not
but
at
in
Taco
that
Bell.
space of the big meal. That
just as literally at a Taco Bell.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You're
because
not
I
gonna
worked
meet
at
her here.
Taco Bell. I was like,
Yeah,
I fell in love with those 10-pound blocks of cheese. But I'm sorry, I digress.
that's okay. God bless it. But just that idea of like, well, okay, this is context of like, okay, so I want this big relationship, and it can happen here.
Yeah.
Let's change things. So just that little moments like that were big in terms of just creating a different context for like, okay, so as the adult, what does an adult eat?
What he wants.
But maybe with more balance and more salad and stuff.
Yeah.
Kale.
Not
You know,
Doritos and Pepsi.
but it's
We're in the land
but
of
this is the
kale.
thing of like, so like an adolescent would eat what they want. A child would eat what they want.
Right.
But like, what does the adult eat?
So funny because it is individualized per person. I'm totally getting
Yeah.
that, right? So
Yeah.
there's no two people that have the same experience. So my adolescent ate what he was told. My child ate what he was told. And I remember being 6 years old and thinking when we had oatmeal cookie day at school.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I would give I'd give my green beans and my pintos and my bread away, and I would just have a plate of the oatmeal cookies. And I remember at 6 years old going, as soon as I have a payday, as soon as I have a job, I'm going to eat all the cookies and all the ice cream that I want after I get my work done.
Reward.
Yeah, and hello. I just had a threesome last night with Ben and Jerry. And Mrs. Fields. I couldn't leave her out.
Yeah.
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 I'm a bisexual eater.
Well, when I grew up, I had to grow up fast. I was an adult fast because of a parent, trying to take care of a parent and emotionally, physically, spiritually, and so it took me a long time actually to allow my little Tony to finally show. But I mean, and I know more people than not that actually were like that.
I had the same experiences
to grow
of you.
up fast.
Yeah. And that's hard.
Yeah, and then we get to 30 and we start going, well, screw it. I'm gonna be this.
When is my time?
Yeah, and then and it took me a long time to find that balance. It's actually I feel
It is balance.
Yeah, that my probably early 40s when I really clicked to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, I was like, wait a minute, this is not working for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And you
Yeah,
and you don't like it
exactly.
anymore, and it didn't feel good anymore.
No, not at all. And I mean, when I look at other people, I'm not judgmental about it, but I still see people my age or even Eddie's age, which is just 6 months older than me. But when that go to the white parties and all this stuff, and it baffles me to see, like, wonder when their time or if their time will come to where they finally say, wait a minute, this
Doesn't
this
feel
is
good
not
to me.
yeah, this is not good anymore.
Ecstasy by the pool doesn't feel good
Yeah.
in Palm Springs with rabid monkeys.
Oh, I'm rabid.
Says you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Or Coachella.
That.
But it's interesting so we mentioned before, people are freaked out right now. It's interesting of why is that? And like, so he who should not be named Donald Trump, is completely in his adolescent.
Oh no!
So, I mean,
can
just
see that.
it's like, well,
Spoiled
what
brat.
if nationally we had that perspective?
Oh my God.
Europeans do. My ex-wife is French, and just getting the sense of like, what the hell are you guys doing over there? The sense of like, this is crazy.
We're babysitting our leaders.
And Obama's very much an adult.
Yeah.
He's completely an adult. And it's just interesting to notice, like, what if just nationally we had this perspective, like this person is a teenager.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that super quick. Ted
Yeah.
Cruz, where's he at? And you're like Ted Cruz up there beside a Donald Trump, Republican. Is he more the child or the adolescent? I don't think of him as an adult.
I really dismiss, basically, so we're dealing with fanaticism.
Yeah.
And the main thing that's in the fanaticism, where it gets into the child and the adolescent, is like, screw those people, the sense of division, the sense of like, the blame,
Yes.
blame for one, and just getting the sense of like, them bad, us good. And that's just nowhere. Nothing is going to get resolved in that space.
Which
so it's
is-
a misguided and detrimental space to be
And
in.
it's the laziest kind of thinking you can do on this planet,
Yeah.
just to keep regurgitating what other people before you did because you're just a carbon copy of that which didn't work on a core level.
Well, it's not actually thinking.
No. And Hillary. Hillary Clinton.
She's a fantastic bureaucrat, isn't she? What I think is interesting, honestly, is the space where, why don't corporations are very scared of Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
and the media wants to kind of skip ahead of like, oh, it's Hillary and Trump. Like, well, wait, I haven't voted yet. Have you guys voted yet?
Not yet.
We're not done.
And so what about
know?
Bernie in the child, adolescent, adult frequency?
He's very much in the adult self. And why is where Hillary is very, she knows how things work, and she's very pragmatic and very good.
I got all the connections
she-
behind the curtain too.
I think she would do a good job. But in terms of Bernie, kind of gets into the artist space of having a lot of integrity and having a sense. The bird thing, I think, was really instructive
That-
in terms of how he responded to that.
Yeah.
And that he took it straight into the symbolism of it and such. That was just fantastic in terms of making it a metaphor for, like this is not actually a dove, no more wars.
And the
So-
genuine look on his beingness.
He can experience great joy.
Yeah, and there's something that reads beautiful in that. Again, we're not pulling people one way or the other. I'm just asking from this perspective, based on ancestral energy, the child, the adolescent, the adult. And the last one is,
Kasich.
is he even in the running anymore?
Yeah, he's still there. He'll be
He's
there
hanging
till
out. He's hoping that Trump and Cruz implode and that he'll sneak in there, which is a fine strategy. But in terms of what we're actually
That is a
talking
good
about here
strategy.
is fight or flight.
Yeah.
And 9/11 was completely about fight or flight. And so if we think of our nation being in this space of fight or flight, which is basically, just very clearly you can't think.
Right.
You're reacting in that space. And I think most of the nation is still in that space, which has led to the non-thinking and the reactive, like, well, screw them. We're going to get them. It's them and us. And this I think it's fascinating. This created Donald Trump, which is just like this outrageous statements. And it's interesting. About a month ago, when it's all people could talk about was him.
Yeah.
And in one of my groups, we did this prayer work of like, and my friend of mine said, like, it's like Voldemort and Harry Potter. Let's not talk about him. Let's not say his name.
Well stated.
And it changed.
Well, what's funny is Eddie and I we always we agree.
He always prefaces it with this.
Well, we agree on a lot of things with spirituality, but
this has nothing to do with spirituality.
But no, we do have a
This is
disagreement.
everything to do with
I
spirituality.
knew you
But
were going
we-
to call me on that.
everything.
But
Everything.
we do disagree.
What
on
isn't spiritual?
when it comes to
Trump. I'm joking.
no,
I'm
politics.
joking.
Politics. What I think's funny is we were talking earlier about the victim and the
Bully.
bully, or we didn't use bully,
Yeah.
but it was the
Villain.
perpetrator,
The
villain.
villain and the victim.
And so what I find funny is Bernie, which I do agree at a lot of stuff, and I believe he comes from a very sincere place, but many of his followers.
And by the way, before you finish the sentence, I'm just going to interrupt because this is my inner child who didn't get to talk. But honestly, You can say what you're going to say about every single candidate on
Of course.
either side of the fence.
Of course. No,
Not
I'm
just
just
him.
I'm just saying that because last night was the debate, and that's why it's fresh in
I
my
didn't
mind.
even watch it.
I watched it, but the disrespect of and the villain that they make Hillary, and I believe in I believe she's a politician. I believe she's a politician, and she's a very well-oiled
with a strap on
Oh, that-
and
of
no
course.
feelings,
No, I
no
don't believe that.
true, deep, rich, feminine,
See, this is why I don't
consistent
understand.
feeling. I think she is a bought person. I think she's a robot.
But this my thing is I think that when the villain, it's the same thing was when Bernie tried to do a little bit of pointing her as a villain. It didn't help him at all. It did actually
Because it's not his nature.
But that's what I'm saying is I think even the Democratic Party and a lot of the people, they want to point a villain towards another Democrat. It doesn't work. And that's why I'm like, we're the victims. And that's why it's like, no, we're not victims. We're allowing us to be victims. We have a choice by going to the voting booths as American citizens. We're not victims at all.
And so
We have a choice and we have a say.
and let me add this in there. And this is why we're going on about this, so you can jump in and give us your perspective on this. But what Bernie, his whole campaign is exposing the rigged system.
We already knew that, though.
But
We already knew- we already
we
knew
did
the
not
rigged
know it to the degree they're
we did.
changing not to this degree. When Gore didn't get in office, we
Right.
were like, oh, da da da.
No,
When
I knew
Bush
that
gets
then.
in, and we knew this much of it. Now it's exposed
Right.
this much. We can't not see it now,
Right.
and more people are seeing it. And I think that's where the turning is starting.
Right.
So that's not Bernie. Bernie's not making that happen.
No,
it's
I'm
because
saying-
He's
of Bernie.
articulating it, and people are engaged with it, and that's of him.
Based on what they're seeing, though, he can back it up.
Yeah.
Oh, they can back any. I'm not trying to do an argument. I'm just trying to say that we can't make some like the villain. Even Donald Trump, we just don't have to vote for him.
So
Exactly,
but
and we have a
Bernie
choice.
did that
Yeah.
twice. Everybody else has done it since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But that's not his nature.
It is not his nature.
And that's where I think if he would
But
have just stuck with the
I personally don't think he lied, because I think he is more qualified than her, and he's passed more stuff than she has.
see this. I mean, that's why I don't like talking politics.
that's what-
but
Let's
go ahead.
So I know what my route.
let's bring it to Angel Land.
Yes,
I don't
Angela.
know. I'm ready.
Okay,
Hillary's
take a deep breath.
Let's
Eddie.
breathe.
We have to breathe.
Yeah, breathing is.
Hillary's a beautiful child of God. Ted Cruz is a beautiful child of God. Donald Trump is a beautiful child of God. They're doing their absolute best. They're doing their absolute best. Bernie Sanders is doing his absolute best. They're doing their
a deep
absolute
breath, Eddie.
best.
But
there could be
do you
nothing
really
outside
believe
of that.
that,
Yes,
though?
I really, really believe that. So it's a matter of from that context. So let's just talk about unconditional love. We are used to unconditional love being like not you. That's conditional love.
Right. Yeah, I
So
agree.
unconditional love is everyone. Dick Cheney, Osama bin Laden.
It's so
loving
much
all of
easier for
them.
me to love Osama bin Laden. It just is. Isn't that weird?
because
What, really?
he's other and out there.
Because he's a non-physical.
is a non-physical. But so let's just look at that in terms of everyone is doing their best. So if we come back to the context of what the angels have talked about, this planet's already changed into an energy of peace, and we're getting used to it. So the
and it's
fanaticism,
unfamiliar. We're trying to get
yes, the
as
fanatic,
consciousness into it.
yes, and the fanaticism makes sense. I'm not going to change. I'm going to do it my way. And we have this context, a blueprint exists where if we scare people, they won't think. And so what is our job in that? Which is let's drop out of the fear. And let's, as adults, make choices. So my choice would be I would like a Democrat to win to be the president. If that's Bernie, fantastic. If that's Hillary, okay. I
don't
but
care.
But that choice. But I think the important thing is to drop out of the otherness and get into the we. So we as people, as the humans who are populating this planet, we collectively get to change. The vision they show ultimately is a space where there are no borders, that we communicate more telepathically, so we're not limited by language. And it's getting a space like, let's celebrate, the comedian Bill Hicks. Do you guys know him?
Yeah.
Anyway, he died in 94, I think. But he had a great joke of like, what if there's oneness of like, hey, it's all going to work out. Here's sports. So why not manifest that? And I think it's interesting where that when I talk about this in groups, people kind of glaze over when I talk about peace and such. And so I do a weekly call, doing Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian clearing process, just to get into like anchoring this energy on the planet. But like, what if we actually just starts individually, like got into a space of peace, and really embody that, and to really notice what it's like to be in a space of unconditional love, and not just talk about it, but actually getting to love. So it's Martin Luther King talked about agape, where Keith is a reverend of, he talks about, I may not like somebody, but I could love them.
Yeah.
And just being in that
My
space.
mom says about me. No, just kidding.
God.
But just that of like, what is it actually like to engage with unconditional love? What does that actually require of us? And so it gets into conversation of like, let's talk about what we want to have happen as opposed to complaining or criticizing. And that's not this Pollyannish like, la, la, la.
No,
it's
legitimate.
a choice. I've discovered in my in my doing this stuff, I used to be super cynical. And I thought happy people were stupid. And I discovered now that happy people are geniuses. To be able to hold that perspective, even if it's natural, in the midst of all this clutter, that's my God.
I had a friend that she was always happy, and people were like, "What is wrong with her?"
Exactly. Well, what is the context for that? Like we should so we revere suffering because we're used to suffering.
Well, I have to say, just like today, like this exchange.
Yeah.
I guarantee a lot of the people listening, they're like, "This is great conversation." Then it's like, "Ooh, this is getting good." I mean,
It's how they're trained.
right.
It's
That's what I mean.
It's the trigger
like
to
that,
engage.
Oh, it's like, oh, it's the and that's why I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating what you're saying, because this is what everybody wants to get to. Well, I
Right.
hope.
Well, that's why they come here.
We're talking about what's actually happening.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so let's address it this way, because I love everything everybody's saying. And I'm just having a realization that in one word, I'm going to ask you this question too, and you. In one word, I figured out what my shit is about this election. And it has nothing to do with the election. It goes right back to fairness. And the unfair things that happened growing up that I had no power over. And so when I see somebody being unfairly treated, where in some cases it appears that a system is being rigged against them, if it were Bernie or whoever, period, anybody that's being hurt or treated unfairly just for sport, it sets me off. And I just had that realization. What's your trigger? With the election.
Oh, with the election? Oh, just truth.
Truth. And what's yours?
I mean,
Not the people, not the bickering,
no.
but what's the trigger as you watch how people are behaving?
actually, I mean, the trigger right now that's big for me, and probably it's been for a while, is bringing the religion into the politics. That, I mean,
Which feels to me unfair.
which is very unfair, because I mean
And
our
inappropriate.
Constitution, and that's how we began our country. And like I said, my family was part of building this, and your family was part of building this.
Yep.
I don't know your past,
We were
but
the lynchers.
but I'm just saying it. I know what our country was built on, and and to see it being
Which goes back to
against
ancestry.
what our founding fathers are against.
Yeah, and so then there's a gigantic group, small group, big group, medium group that can take and twist anything. But it comes back to the love piece and healing the ancestry
Yes.
part of it.
Yeah. So if we look at this just in terms of coming back to what do we want to have happen? What kind of president do we want to have?
Compassionate.
Compassionate and smart.
Yeah.
And who's seeing like what is actually happening.
And sees everybody equal.
Exactly. So if we look at this in terms of actual unconditional love, and it's hard in politics, but our political conversation is just turned into you're stupid, no, you're stupid, as opposed to any kind of discussion.
You have small hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well,
stupid.
what is that? That's locker room. That's high school.
Adolescent.
So in true unconditional love, let's love everyone who's supporting, let's say, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. What are those? What
Because they essentially
do they
need it
actually
more.
want? What do they want? You know, we all want peace and love. But this is something they came through with for a while, real quick, which is like, so we all want peace and love. So a terrorist will get peace when we're all dead, right?
Yeah.
But that's still a goal for peace and love. Dick Cheney wants peace and love. We all want those two things. We're all united in that. And that's a space of unity.
And in that is safety and well-being, which is another reason they think if this group is annihilated, then they can have the safety, the peace, and the love.
It
comes back to
insane.
love. Yeah.
It comes back to love. But it's also the space of the idea there's not enough. Not enough love, not enough land, not enough room, not enough this or that.
I have a proposition.
Oh,
Seriously.
go for it.
I think what we need is for you to come back. If you'll allow us to let you have you back, because we're just like, Bernie Sanders. And,
We're having a very nice discussion. I
We really
appreciate
are.
it.
And it's going to a deeper, spiritual, richer connection to the heart.
Yeah.
This is the proposal. What do you think about having Mark back, Keith back, and dedicating 1 hour to nothing but helping people hold the vision?
Yeah.
The three of us can play together, jump in and be the wonderful balance that you are and seeing both sides of the fence. And let's only talk about for 1 whole hour the essence. Whether you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, teabagger, I have no judgment. But hold the energy of the end result that you want, regardless of who you're voting for. We will not talk about who you're voting for. We will not talk about parties. We'll only talk about the desired end result of love, period. All of us at the table the whole time, and it will be about politics, and there will be nothing else like it on the earth plane.
Let's do it. That sounds good.
Yeah.
That feels good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is time to go, Eddie Boo. I know. And this, again, another hour flew by. And Mark, thank you so much for being here. I scared Eddie. You're welcome. I scared Eddie. That's a bonus.
That's a bonus. I really do appreciate the space you two have created and be able to have an actual conversation about this. I really am grateful for that. And thank you for everyone who's listened.
And honestly, if you hadn't been in the room, we wouldn't have gotten to this idea.
See?
And how we can help other people get
was meant
past
to be.
our ignorances.
Yes.
I'm talking about
It was
me.
meant
Do
to
we have
be.
time for like one last
Go for
real
it.
quick
Yes.
thought, which would be so like in what you're talking about, the key is like we're used to these labels.
Yes.
Like we are human beings. So beyond the space of like, you know, Eddie, Tony, Mark, into like human being. We all want to be seen and heard. We all want peace and love. Let's work on that space and connect.
Yes, and instead of
that.
doing the stuff that we used to have to do to get the attention, the peace, and the love, let's just go straight to peace and love as adults.
Yeah.
Bring the inner child, bring the adolescent, and take the rest of the country with us.
And bring the angels.
And bring the angels.
And a bag of Doritos.
This is good. So everybody, this is Mark Mezadourian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, child, please. Miss Debbie and some Ben and Jerry's. So this is Mark Mezadourian. You can go to markmezadourian.com. We were going to talk about clearing energy, releasing the energy pain of the past lives, ancestry, and allowing your spirit guides and angels to help you in healing. And then also using your intuition to improve your health. But guess what? You can go to markmezadourian.com and you can find out about the classes he's doing, and you can connect with him directly because he teaches classes. He has weekly calls. Of course, he has workshops, and he does private intuitive readings too. markmezadourian.com.
Perfect. And we want to thank our sponsors today, Contact in the Desert. Please go and get your ticket to Conscious Life. That was a couple months
Deja
ago.
vu.
Contact in the Desert. Please, June 3rd through the 6th. It's a Woodstock stock of UFOs. Go to truthbetoldwebtv.com, sign up there, and win tickets to Contact in the Desert. And also Grown by Nature. They're a brand new sponsor. We want to thank them. And you can go and get your discounts by going to that website, grownbynature.com, and
Typing in Tony 10.
Yeah, the promo code. Get a little discount. And we love that. All right, well, till next week, go to truthbetoldwebtv.com, find out all our upcoming guests, and you can listen to us on iHeartRadio. Go to our YouTube channel, Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. Please subscribe and watch this video over and over and over.
And tell your friends.
Please do. All right, we're out of here, and we hope you have a great week. And Eddie,
What?
this is Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie.
I'm Eddie Connor.
I'm Tony Sweet.
I'm Mark Mezadourian.
See you next time.
Bye, y'all.